What if everything you were taught about money was only half the story? Not the wrong story, just the surface. You were taught to save, to budget, to work hard, and maybe you did all of that. But something still feels off, like you are running on a treadmill that never stops. Here's what nobody told you. They live inside your mind, inside your habits, inside the decisions you make when nobody is watching. Today we go there. Stay with me. There's a concept in psychology called a money script. It's not your bank balance, it's not your salary. It's the invisible story your mind has been telling you about money since you were a child. And here is the disturbing part. Think about the house you grew up in. What were the conversations around money like? Was money talked about with stress, with shame, with silence? Or maybe it was treated like a fantasy, something other people had, not you. Every single one of those moments became a belief, and that belief became a behavior. Let me tell you about a woman named Claire. Claire was a 34-year-old graphic designer in Manchester. Smart, talented. By every measure, she should have been financially comfortable. She earned well above average. But every time her account grew past a certain number, she'd find a reason to spend it. New laptop, spontaneous trip, a necessary upgrade she hadn't planned. For years, Claire thought she had a discipline problem. She didn't. She had a script problem. When Claire was 9 years old, her parents fought viciously every time money came up. More money in the house meant more arguments. Her young brain made a simple, devastating connection. So her subconscious spent the next 25 years quietly protecting her, by making sure she never had too much of it. This is not a rare story. This is the story of millions of people walking around right now, wondering why their effort never seems to translate into progress. There is a level of financial pain that is comfortable enough to stay in, but terrible enough to complain about. Psychologists call it the zone of familiar discomfort. And most people live there their entire lives. Here is how it works. Your brain is not wired to make you rich. It is wired to keep you safe. And safe to your brain means familiar, even if familiar is painful. So when an opportunity appears, a chance to invest in yourself, to take a calculated risk, to change direction, your brain fires an alarm. Not because the opportunity is bad, but because it is unknown. And unknown feels dangerous. So you retreat, back into the familiar discomfort, back to the job you hate but know, back to the spending habit you understand, back to the financial story that has never served you but at least you know how it ends. I want you to think about a moment in your own life. A moment when something inside you said, I could do this, I could change this, I could try this. And then another voice came in, calmer, quieter, and said, but what if it doesn't work? A man named David once told me this. David had spent 11 years working at a logistics company in Ohio. He made decent money, nothing spectacular, but it was predictable. At 41, he had an idea, a skill, a real shot at building something of his own. He sat on that idea for 2 years. Every time he was close to acting, his brain would manufacture a perfect reason to wait. The economy, the timing, the risk. What David didn't realize was that waiting had a cost too. 2 years later, David did take the step. He built a small freight consultancy from a spare bedroom. In 14 months, he replaced his salary. Not because the timing was finally right, but because he finally decided that discomfort was going to exist either way. He chose the discomfort that built something instead of the discomfort that maintained nothing. Here is a truth that almost nobody talks about, and yet it explains so much. You cannot consistently out-earn your identity. Read that again. Here is the moment in most videos where they tell you the hack, the strategy, the 10 steps. I'm not going to do that, because the truth about wealth psychology is not comfortable, and anything comfortable here would be dishonest. The real truth is this. They are loyal to the story, loyal to the comfort, loyal to the identity ceiling. And those loyalties feel like personality. They feel like just who I am. But they are not who you are. They are what happened to you. And those are very different things. Neuroscience has shown us repeatedly that the brain can be rewired. New beliefs can replace old ones. New identities can be intentionally built. The story you are living in right now is not the only chapter available to you. But here is the catch. You have to be willing to feel like a stranger in your own life for a while. Because growth always feels foreign before it feels natural. Before you close this video and go back to your day, I want to leave you with one question. Not 10 steps, not a system. One question. Because when you answer that question honestly, you stop looking for the right strategy and start doing the deeper work. You start questioning the story. You start choosing discomfort on purpose. You start building an identity that doesn't need to shrink back from opportunity. None of this is quick. None of this is easy. But it is available to you right now, in this moment. The psychology of wealth isn't secret knowledge hidden behind a paywall or a private club. It is a set of mental habits, and habits can be built by anyone willing to be honest with themselves. You were never taught this in school. You were never handed this by a job. Nobody sat you down and walked you through the invisible architecture of your own mind. But you know it now.